wouldn't mind starting to record the session, and just a reminder to everyone that we will be recording so that if anyone misses out on this session, they can catch us up on YouTube with all the other sessions that we host for Connect and Share. This is our 27th session brought to you today, and for those that don't know me, I'm Laurie Mode. I'm the CEO of Outdoors New South Wales and ACT. And can I say, Warrami, welcome on our Darug land, of which I come to you today. May I pay my respects to all our Aboriginal people, past, present, and the people we work with today to understand the lands and what they have known for thousands of years, and that we help in treasure and educate others on what we have as our lands. So we have an interesting session for you today, a couple of different topics. But I firstly will acknowledge that it is actually Halloween, and you can see by the background on our today's Connect and Share that I'm helping Cherie celebrate her background and her Americanness by bringing Halloween to you. But there's a reason why I do that, and it's not necessarily to celebrate it as Australia. We don't really celebrate it probably as much as America, because in America it's $6 billion worth to the economy. But what it is doing is sending us a few lessons, and I wanted to use this as an example to just discuss something that we need to all take on as people that interact with visitors and customers on a day-to-day basis. So I'm sure you're all aware of the history of Halloween, but in case you aren't, I'll give you a quick snapshot. About 2,000 years ago, it was around the festival of the end of harvest, and then the Celtics also got involved in the New Year celebration, which was 31st of October was the end of their year. They believed that the change in time was when ghosts would come out and celebrate the end of year before the start of the new year on 1st of November. And they would actually dress themselves in ghostly wear to fear off any ghosts and try to blend in with what they believed the spirits came to life on that night. But the Catholics really didn't like the negative connotations of that, so they then called the 1st of November All Saints' Day, which saint is hallow, and that became Hallowmas. All Saints' Day was known as Hallowmas, and then that was in the 18th century. And of course, then the Irish people then settled in America and brought some of the traditions that they had in celebrating the end of harvest and the new year in trick or treating. But it wasn't actually known as trick or treating then. It was tricking people and playing pranks on them. But it wasn't until the 1950s where we started to dress up and have characters and go from door to door and then start the trick-or-treating custom and culture. But what this does is it brings a collaboration of culture, religion and tradition and social connection. So I just wanted to use that example and show you, how we can actually learn from this. This is a model directly from HubSpot, and HubSpot are a marketing organisation very well providing resources to businesses such as yourselves, and large and small. And they've got this model which is about attracting customers, engaging customers, and then delighting customers. And they see that as the true way to retain and sustain the customers into your business. Now, let's have a think about what we offer, and that's memorable experiences other than the education and all the things that we provide. But let's have a look at how we look at this in this model. If we're talking about the attraction, we're attracting them to the education that we provide or the experience that we provide, but we engage them through the safety and the adventure aspects of what the outdoors brings. But how we delight them is that social connectivity, that storytelling and that enjoyment. And that's how some of these holidays and events that we celebrate really connect people, is through that storytelling, that enjoyment and that social connection. So think about your own businesses and see if there is elements of that make sense to you, because I think more and more we've got to start delighting our customers to really keep them engaged in our business on an ongoing basis. And may I say happy World Teachers Day to all those teachers out there, because it is World Teachers Day today as well. So 31st of October, sorry, tomorrow, 31st of October is World Teachers Day. So we have a big week to share with you. The first thing I will say is we just finished a session with Dan Cockrell, who is the Vice President of Disney World, ex-Vice President of Disney World, I should say, and he brought some amazing content to our listeners, which will be on our YouTube channel by the end of today. He talked to us about leadership and looking after self and how you lead a team into some great results for your business. So please catch up on that. If you missed any of the other small business sessions, they're all on our YouTube channel as well. We had a great session on Monday, thanks to Simone and Tafe Lithgow, connecting with the sector and talking about training and qualifications and what organisations needed to get their people through some of the qualifications or needs of the sector right now. Thank you so much to Simone for doing that, and what that's eventuated in a lot of conversations since then certainly proved the worth of that meeting. Speaking of which, Work in the Outdoors Facebook page, it has gone ballistic, to say the least. All of your jobs, if you've got jobs on offer, send them through to us. We'll make sure we post them up there. But the traction that Facebook site is getting at the moment is great. Some hints and tips though, if you are posting an advert for your organisation, please remember to tag people, tag us, tag other organisations, share it amongst groups. That really gives it traction, and the right groups. Obviously admins have rules about their groups. Check those rules, make sure you can, but that certainly gets that viewership a lot broader. Imagery sells. I think we had a session about 3 weeks ago now, I think with Di HR guru. She said, you know, don't give me a link to Seek. That tells me nothing about the job. Give me imagery. Make sure you put some inspirational imagery up there to see what, one, it'll get attraction, and two, what to expect from that organisation or that job. And yeah, literally sell your organisation. Write it in a way that it should be attracting them to your business. You can sort amongst all the applications once they come to you, but you've really got to actually be articulate in selling your business to potential applicants. The traineeship post, you might remember if you've been on our recent sessions, we've been talking about traineeships and the fact that organisations can co-host traineeships. So we've put that together, and Lithgow are compiling some documentation for us to share as well. But we put that into one of the posts. I think as of last night, it had reached 6,500 people. So we're getting the news out there that the outdoors is certainly a place where people can start careers or change careers, and you can do so via traineeships. So we'll continue on that effort because we need some people in our organisation so we can get back out into the activity as it starts to ramp up. A very busy week in conferences as well. At one stage there, I was on 3 different conferences at the one time. The Associations Forum Conference was on this week, highlighting some of the opportunities where associations can look at innovation. The Australian Regional Tourism Convention was on. That was a great opportunity for us to put the outdoors name up in lights in that convention and talk about this part of the sector when it connects with tourism. There's a lot of grants out at the moment, and in particular there's some bushfire recovery grants. If you're a not-for-profit, you need to definitely look at that option. You would have seen on my newsletter that we sent out yesterday, I think it was, yes it was yesterday, the jobs grant, which is enormous. So if you're looking to invest in your business and employ more people, that grant is certainly one to keep an eye on. And there's a lot of philanthropy grants out there at the moment as well. So keep an eye, because you never know what could help your business in doing what you need to do. And thank you to those that have sent COVID plans through for review. Love that. Hopefully the feedback I've provided for you is helpful. Yeah, we've just got to be all in this together and make sure that we keep COVID at bay in our organisations and in our sector. And Queensland Awards are tonight, so I'm looking forward to jumping on and seeing how Queensland have done some amazing stuff. So good luck to all those entrants from Queensland who are entered and awaiting the news of if they have won or not. So a very busy week overall. Connect and Share's coming up. I'm taking the Connect and Shares on the road. Leslie's going to have to be my backup in case I've got no signal. But on the 6th of November, I'll be coming to you live from Kiama. And the reason why, I will let Sarah tell you that in just a little moment. And the 13th of November, I'm going to come to you live from Broken Hill. So, yeah, a few on the road, but upcoming topics you can see there. We've got a lot on offer for you in the next couple of weeks. So please make sure you jump in. And from what I heard from the survey, 10 o'clock Friday is certainly still one of the favoured. So we're going to keep it at 10 o'clock every Friday. If you're able to jump on, do so. If you're not, that's okay. You can catch us up on YouTube at a later time. But we will keep them consistent every week at 10 o'clock on Fridays. So today we have Sarah just jumping in and telling us a little bit more about why I'm going to be in Kiama and why she's going to be in Kiama on the 6th of November. And then we have Robert Dunlop. So first of all, Sarah, can I ask you to come and say a few words?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Laurie. I really appreciate the opportunity, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in Kiama at the Kiama Leagues Club next Friday. So just a little bit, I think I've spoken to this group before, but just as a very quick introduction, I'm the New South Wales Skills IQ ITAB and industry training advisory body. We look after training in New South Wales between industry and the department, which is Training Services New South Wales. And we look after 3 committees, and one of those is sport and recreation, travel, tourism and hospitality, and retail and personal services. So Laurie is on our New South Wales Sport and Rec Committee. Thank you very much, Laurie. Doing a great job. And as part of our committees, we have quarterly meetings, and it was decided earlier in the year that as part of our quarterly meetings, because we're to enhance our regional engagement and also part of the bushfire recovery effort, which is kind of like a little bit before COVID came along and changed things even more. But we decided that we would hold one of our quarterly meetings in a regional area so that we could engage more fully and bring our committees down and hold a forum. With COVID, we're sort of calling it a mini forum because of social distancing. We can, we're sort of a little bit more restricted in what we can do. So where that brings us to today is next week is our Sport and Rec forum in Kiama. That is for industry. We have a terrific lineup of speakers, and I'll run through those a little bit for you shortly. It's being held at the Kiama Leagues Club, and it's running in a contracted format from 11 till 3. That way it's a little bit more condensed. It's at the Leagues Club because it's kind of like one of those places where we can fit 40 people in a large auditorium and have sufficient space around us so that we're not congregating too tightly. I think that's the thing. Everybody has to have their 1.5 metres space around them. We have 4 discussion sessions planned. So the forum is based around 4 discussion sessions. I'll run through those very quickly, but I suppose I'll just cut to the really interesting bits first. The purpose of the forum is getting business and communities back on track for 2021. And the theme is all about looking at how we can support communities and businesses to get back on track by meeting the challenges to rebuild capability, capacity and resilience. and that's going to be underpinned by 4 discussion sessions. Now, they're discussions, they're not presentations as such, so they're a little bit more sort of organic. So we're expecting more feedback from our participants and the like, so the opportunity for questions. So the first panel discussion will be on New South Wales projects and support, and that'll be outlining regional workforce development projects and support for skills training and part qualifications. And that's going to be with Stan Wall, who's one of our Sport and Rec members. And we'll have Graham Frost, who's the manager from Training Services Illawarra, with Anthony Boddy, who's the director for the Illawarra Shoalhaven Department of Regional New South Wales, and Andrew Wales, who's the employment facilitator for the Illawarra and South Coast for the Commonwealth Department of Education, Skills and Employment, DESI. So there's a new local jobs, there's funding for new local jobs program. So if you want to know where the local jobs funding programs are and how to access those, that'll be the session you'll want to come and listen to. The sessions only run for about 40 minutes. They're quite short, but they're quite punchy. So they'll be giving you a lot of information. So come along and have a listen. The second discussion panel that we've got is about strengthening engagement with schools in vocational education and training, and how we can encourage student participation in VET programs, particularly in sport and rec, because there's a massive opportunity to expand that. There's a lot of interest in that, and there'll be a lot of activity in that, I think you'll find, over the next year. So that's about tips for engaging career advisors, students, parents and employers. And we'll have Jeffrey Lehrer, who's on our IAC committee and also on the IASC committee, which is the national body, and he's from Scouts Australia. We have somebody who from the Regional Industry Education Partnerships program with Training Services. We've got Rochelle, who's the manager from the SBATS program with the Department of Education in Sydney. We've got Rhonda Willingham, who's the Career Advisors Association Illawarra Network person. So that should be a really interesting session about engaging schools and getting kids involved in vocational programs. And also, if you're interested in taking on a school-based trainee, that would be an opportunity where you get a student for 1 day a week while they complete their 100 days on the job over 1 or 2 years. 2 years, it'll have to be over 2 years because it's like 1 day a week, so 100 days is over 2 years. The third discussion panel's on building resilience. Again, a terrific session there, and we'll have Andrew Chan, who's from Surf Lifesaving New South Wales. He's also on our IAC committee, and we'll have Kylie Bryden-Smith, who's the director with Resilience New South Wales. And we'll have Cheryl McCarthy, who's the Director of Lifesaving Far South Coast Branch from Surf Lifesaving New South Wales. And Cheryl's going to be talking about her role looking after volunteers and coordinating the efforts during the bushfires on the South Coast. And of course, Kylie Bryden-Smith from Resilience New South Wales. That will be a really good session as well. And I'm expecting that we're really going to be looking back in time at the bushfires and the challenges that's created, and then overlaid against with that is the impact of COVID, and also really about the lessons that we learn from that. And it's really going to be a very important piece about how we build resilience for communities. So I think that's going to be something well worth listening to. The fourth and last session is on building confidence, and that's really the session where we explore the support available for businesses to re-engage with their staff and to re-engage with their customers. And that'll be most relevant to small business and small business owner-operators about how to build. And I think Laurie was covering that off a little bit earlier in some of the other work that is being done on re-establishing connection with your customer base and building that and telling. I think this thing about the storytelling is obviously very, very important, because that's how we connect. And Laurie will be facilitating that session, so it will be particularly engaging, and we're really looking forward to it. And I just wanted to add 2 other things, and one is that we're very fortunate because we've secured the minister. Jeff Lee will be turning up to provide the welcome address. So that's a big win for us, because he's also the Minister for Sport, as you know, as well as education and for skills and tertiary education. And before we have a showcase, so we start at 11 at the Leagues Club, and Surf Lifesaving New South Wales are running a showcase at Kiama Downs Surf Lifesaving Club. And if you're from the Illawarra, you'll know that Kiama's here and Kiama's Downs is over here. So they're quite separate places. They're not far. It's only a couple of kilometres, a 6-minute drive, I think, from one to the other. But the Kiama Downs Surf Lifesaving Club will be holding a 1-hour showcase from 9:30 to 10:30, which the Minister will be attending as well. So there's going to be a media opportunity there. So I'd really encourage, we'd like a little bit of leverage. So if anybody wants to leverage off that, that would be a terrific opportunity. And they'll be showcasing their new drone technology and their training in drone technology. So Surf Lifesaving are putting up for, have applied to get some accredited units developed in drone operating drones, technical operation, something like that. I don't know all that drone stuff, but they look pretty, impressive. And that's for shark surveillance. So that's all going to be, you know, at some of the beaches. I don't think they've got enough to go. I don't know how extensively. I'm sure Andrew will tell us, and there'll be a press release about it. But I think there was something out a little while ago about a surfer down on the south coast that had a shark. Did anybody see that? And the shark was bigger than the surfboard.
Yes.
It's pretty freaky. And that was Surf Lifesaving's new drone technology. So it's out there. It can see where people are, who's going too far out, where the sharks are, who's in trouble, all that kind of stuff. And they've got some of their rescue boats as well. So that will be a really important session. Then everybody's got to dust off the sand and race over to the Leagues Club and join us for our 4 discussion panels, and the Minister's welcome. So in a nutshell, that's it for our forum. So yeah.
Great. And Robert's just asking what date that was, and that's next Friday, Sarah.
Friday the 6th from 11 till 3. The showcase is 9:30, and you're more than welcome to attend the showcase. That will be a bit of fun. I think that's the fun part. And then we get down to the business, and the business kind of side of it will be at the forum. And I think we've got, like, you know, we've got about 45 people at the moment, so we could probably crank the numbers up. So if anybody particularly wants to attend, please let Laurie know, or let me know. You can get in touch with me at New South Wales itab@skills.com.au. I'd suggest getting in touch with Laurie maybe in the first instance, and she can forward it to me. But it should be a really exciting opportunity. And I think, just in closing, what I wanted to say was, because the ITABs are currently doing their grant applications, so that we'll exist for another 18 months, which would be a really good thing, because we sort of, you know, provide that the bridge between the government and business and training and that brokering role. But I think the other thing is to actually encourage that regional engagement. And one of the things I've been reporting on is that, you know, the downside, well, there's lots of downsides to COVID, but probably one little upside that it's done is it's really changed the way that a lot of us work and how we interact with people. So even what Laurie's been doing for the past 27 weeks in having these Zoom, what do you call them, connect and shares, is a really great way for us to connect, even though we can't connect, you know, physically in getting together for meetings. We can connect by Zoom. And I think that's a really important thing now, is that for our committees and for our events, is actually having more regional engagement, because that's what we're supposed to be about. So yeah, looking forward to coming to the South Coast, well, Kiama.
Yeah, yeah. Upper South Coast.
Yeah,
no, that's great, Sarah. Thank you. And like I say, I'll be doing the connect and share, maybe from the showcase.
That would be great. That'd be great, particularly if you've got your iPad or something. You can probably turn it around and, you know, do a bit of, you know, train stuff.
I'm sure the signal on the internet will be better there than it is right here. So we should do that for sure. Thank you so much, Sarah, for giving us that rundown. And you've got a few interested on the line, so I'll message you after this.
Thank you. I'm just going to take this call, Laurie. Thank you very much.
Yeah, go for it. No problem at all. Now, our next speaker, which I'll just quickly bring up, is Rob. Rob, are you there? I'm just trying to find you on the...
Can you hear me?
Oh, there you go. Yes,
yeah.
I can certainly hear you. Thank you for attending. For everyone's background, I had a quick chat with Robert this week just in relation to insurance, and I know we've had several conversations as a group around some of the challenges you've experienced in this space. So I've asked Robert to come along and chat to you about what he's looking at doing, and I'll just hand it straight over to you, Robert.
Thanks, Laurie. Appreciate it. And thanks for your time. I apologise about my connection here. I've got also particularly poor internet here today. So as a result, I've also brought partner we're dealing with who's our licensed fund manager. And so I'll do a little introduction. I might just pass you then on to Tremaine, who I believe will probably have a better connection than what I have. What we're looking to do, I've been involved as an insurance broker in leisure markets across the board for about 20 years. And I know how when the market goes bad, leisure industries tends to be one of the ones first hit. They don't keep you, they throw you out, and next thing you know, your premiums go up or you don't get premiums at all. I've been asked by a few operators, initially from the amusement industry, to look into setting up, it's a member-owned mutual fund. It's called a discretionary mutual fund, and at the end of the day, it's going to be a self-funded insurance model. And the only way we'll make it work is if we can get across industry. In other words, looking at all of leisure, including recreation, obviously outdoor recreation and education, which is where you guys fit in, the amusement industry as well. And to get that volume and pool, we need to get out there and talk to all of you and find out who's interested and whether you want to be a part of it. As I said, I don't know how well you guys can hear me or how well I'm connected, so I might just take this opportunity just to pass you on to Tremaine. His name is Tremaine West. You there, Tremaine?
I am, Robert. Hello, can everyone hear me? Good. Okay, great. So thanks, Robert. Yeah, I'll just take on a bit of a tip. So, Robert's obviously got vast experience in the distribution of risk transfer products, which is insurance traditionally, across your industry plus others closely associated to the outdoor leisure industry and education industry. And where we come in partnership is that I've got the Australian Financial Services licence that allows the manufacture and distribution of the discretionary mutual products. But as Robert alluded to, the great benefit of a mutual, and especially the discretionary mutual using this product, is that it's not an insurance product, but it's an alternative risk transfer product. The main difference between this product at a very, very high level is that a board comprised of the members has the discretion to pay a claim, whereas an insurer has to pay a claim based upon the defined events in the policy. So a discretionary mutual can have positive discretion to pay more if it's warranted and the reserves are there. And it also has the connotation of negative discretion in that it may not choose to pay a claim if its reserves aren't there to pay that claim. But my job as a licensee, and obviously as a professional mutual manager, is to make sure that the board is guaranteeing the reserves to be able to make payment of claims when they're there and when they're due. Part of what we do for the pooled fund is we arrange reinsurance contracts and excess of loss contracts to the reinsurance industry, not the insurance industry, but the reinsurers. So those companies that insure the insurers, to be able to then protect the funds of the mutual, so that the members are basically guaranteed to a prudential standard that there's enough reserves there to be able to meet any claims. So that's the technical sort of stuff. But at a very, very high level, discretionary mutuals come into their own in times like this. I'm sure you're all experiencing the running away from your businesses by insurers. And if they're not running away, then they're asking you for multiples of what last year's premium was, which is obviously crippling to small businesses and and creating a hazard with regard to budgeting and cash flow and profitability. So a mutual fund is there, run by its members, owned by its members, managed and directed by its members, but professionally managed by my company, and with assistance and distribution by Robert and people like Robert, to provide a guaranteed and or consistent pool of funds to be able to pay those claims. Now, premium is when you pay insurance policies. Protection contribution is when you pay for a protection product, which is a discretionary mutual product. And that pool of resources will then grow over time to be able to assist you all in knowing and understanding that you do have insurance available, number one, and that it's affordable, number two. Surpluses, so in the times, so another example. So when the pool runs and there's no claims in a year, then obviously all those profits or all those surpluses stay in the pool. They don't go to the insurers for their share market or shareholders and their P&Ls. That pool of money stays there. Next year, say we have one small claim, we've got enough to pay that out, but the remaining surpluses are there to be built up as a capital pool. And as that pool grows and grows, we can then look at the contribution to risk management assistance, and we can look to contribution for training and development with regard to better risk management in your businesses, with the whole intent of being able to say, well, one, you're managing your own businesses well. We can assist in managing it better, and the benefit to doing that is that the pool, the discretionary fund, has less call on it for claims. And so at the end of the day, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy in that the contributions are enough to be able to look after the costs of the mutual, and we can buy lower levels of reinsurance because the mutual has the capital reserves built up over time to be able to fund its own claims. So it's an altruistic model in the world of insurance. Members, we find, have a better risk managed approach because it's your pooled money. So you're more aware of what can lay your business to a claim, and more prepared to minimise that because you're looking after and managing your own mutual fund. They're very successful. They've been around for a long time. They're legislated by ASIC, not APRA, but there are examples including the McDonald's Mutual. So McDonald's and all of its franchises have grouped together to run their own insurance or discretionary mutual fund. Universities around Australia do it. Local government around Australia do have mutual funds. There are other professional bodies like the Virgin Pilots have professional funds. Small groups of employment companies or employment recruitment companies have their own discretionary fund for their own PI. Building certifiers are just about to launch one themselves. So they're quite well known. Capricorn Mutual is probably one of the largest. The group under Capricorn Society, the 15,000 members of Capricorn Society, there's a subgroup of about 7,000 members that join its discretionary mutual product to look after their workshops and professional indemnity and public liability options as well. So they're popular, but they come to their fore in times like these when insurance becomes difficult to obtain. And so if it is the want of an association and the majority of its members to be able to pursue this, then people like Robert and myself can assist in that process. So we're very happy to present in concept, and then obviously take any questions, or after that, if there's any formal process of presentations and so forth, more than happy to contribute in that regard to assist this group and its sibling groups around the country. Yeah. Thank you.
Great, Troy. Thank you so much. I suppose, just for clarity from my perspective, what sort of legal structure would the mutual be? Would that become an ACNC registered charity, or how does it work? Yeah.
Yeah. So the mutual company is limited by guarantee. So it's a limited company. It is a public company, so it has to disclose its reporting publicly. So all members, there's absolute transparency. There are no shareholders, there are only members, and members own a company limited by guarantee. the exposure that a member has will only ever be an at-call amount of $1. So to meet that company by guarantee requirement, we require a $1 call, if and when it ever folds up. But obviously, we don't hope that happens. We hope that it goes on and on forever with a pool of money to service the risk transfer requirements. NRMA, remember, was the big mutual back in 2000 when it offered car insurance and a whole lot of insurance products and demutualised. So that's probably the car associations and their respective ownerships in the past and or current, depending on which state you look at, probably the biggest mutuals. Yeah.
Great. You've got a few questions in there, and they're sort of coming thick and fast at the moment.
Good.
But Cameron, did you want to just talk to your question quickly?
Yes, so I was just wondering whether it was what insurances we were, or what risks we were covering. Is it third party? Is it things like fire and flood, or is it the full gamut of general insurances, etc.?
I think well, it can do all of those. It's not limited to any product that or class, if you call it the class of insurance. I think the first need that I feel across this industry is public liability. And so a lot of you are suffering with the insurers with public liability insurance. Is that right or wrong? Hands up or? Yep, the public liability. And we can develop those other products. So it can be, so public liability is your third party. Then obviously any property type insurances or any PI type of insurances. So if you're giving advice or education and training and such, those classes or products can also be developed within the mutual.
Mm-hmm. Great. And Cameron just added there fire as well,
Yep.
obviously coming from last year's. The other questions from Rob. Rob, did you want to just quickly talk to yours?
Well, it's probably just a sideline issue, but the insurers, as you say, as you started out saying, are gun shy about certain activities and the premiums are going up. So is there a way of, and I've written in the question there, there's perceived risk from insurers that don't want to do activities that are just oddball, like say water parks or bubble soccer and activities that camps may or may not partake in. Archery, I don't know, some of those other things. So, I mean, you get really high risk things like climbing up 50 metres up a hill, up a mountain or canyoning and things, and they're insurable. But oddball things like, say, bubble soccer, is there something that insurers just sort of don't want to go near? And I don't know what the key to my question is, but there are things out there that we can't do anymore because we just someone said to me, because I do have a bubble soccer thing that's been in limbo for 2 years, and they said $5,500 to allow you to run it just by itself, not all the canoeing, biking and things like that, just $5,000 just for that activity.
Robert, do you want to?
Yeah.
I think you can respond.
Yeah. I completely feel your pain and understand that. I've, over the years, had to tell operators by an insurer's instructions, some guy sitting in an office who doesn't understand your business, doesn't know what he's doing, and they're telling you to stop doing these things. We wish to be very active in understanding your risk. We're wanting it. What's excited me about this whole package, once I got my head around it, is the member-owned side of things, is that we're looking to ensure what you do, but we need to understand what you do, and we'll obviously, where we can, all work together. If there is areas that are of extreme concern of risk, well, hopefully you can demonstrate to us how it can be done and lead the way as far as setting standards to ensure that the way it's being done is acceptable. But our attitude is to be proactive towards ensuring what you guys do.
Yeah, but the ultimate
but of course, yes. I mean, if you're the only one in the world jumping off cliffs, sorry.
So the ultimate end game, though, is it can be all well and good us making you comfortable, you as the insurance broker comfortable about our procedures and paperwork and qualifications and things, but ultimately it comes down to a courtroom with other people that have no knowledge or none of that background that you sort of say that you gather together to insure us, so, or put down as the cover. So ultimately, it's someone else deciding, and you know, they just they're pretty sure.
Well, look, some of the decisions that get made in courts, we can't control that. But what we're saying is that we were there to try, and that's what the insurance is for. Unfortunately, the courts do crazy things, and they don't always see things your way. What we're looking to do is understand what you do and try and set up an insurance product that'll assist you. And we're certainly not looking to exclude risks. We just want to be able to understand them.
And I think that's the point that Robert's making, especially to your question, is this is and I'll use the wrong terms here, but just so that we can help in the translation. But you know, setting up an outdoor or leisure mutual or discretionary mutual fund is an insurance company which is designed by its members to offer products suitable for its members that understand its members' risk exposures, and then assist those members in developing risk management practices or safe work procedures to minimise the risks that occur. And obviously, being intimately involved in that, when there's an incident that you know, touch wood, God bless, happens, but someone breaks their spine or breaks their leg or does something like that, then we've got the support for you, the members, to be able to, at best, defend the practices that you put forward, because the lawyers that sit on your insurance company's panel are defending you with your interest at heart, not the insurer's interest at heart. So, it's a very different proposition that we can provide. And for example, if for example, Outdoors New South Wales and ACT wanted to establish its own discretionary mutual fund, members of this board or this panel would be directors of that fund's board. And those members of that board would determine acceptability criteria. So are operators good enough, or do they meet the requirements for that activity? And who better knows their stuff than you guys? Like, you live and breathe it, it's your business. You know what you need to do to minimise risk to create third-party liabilities. And you know of those other companies that don't do it as well as you do. So we've got a benefit in saying, here's a risk management or an acceptance criteria that we set the benchmark for. And then when the claim comes in, the board determines, yes, we're happy to support that claim and that member because they did everything right. And it's just an accident. And so then my job with the lawyers is to defend you using the pool of reserves that we've got, like the insurance company would try to do. So I think it sort of takes away some of the issues around, we've got a group of lawyers in court who don't know what we do. Well, we do, because they're our lawyers supporting you or our members with our product wording that we've designed, and including all the risk management approaches that we've put down on paper. So it's a very different proposition to turn your head around. It's not competitive or combative with the insurer. It's actually a pool of resources and an organisation to support the members in defending its members against those liabilities that accidentally they may create. Does that help?
And Cameron, does that answer your query in relation to how it assesses and structures?
Yeah, I guess that board then determines the contribution that each member should make based on the size of their business and the risk that they're operating with.
Mm.
We run the DMF like it's an insurance company. All the actuarial calculations, the pricing calculations, proposal forms, the evidence that you require is all the same. But yes, the board ultimately sets the product, sets the risk criteria, sets the acceptance criteria, sets the pricing methodology, the reserving methodology for the pool, like how much money do we have to have there to meet a claim. And it's all proven by the board and produced and publicly documented in its annual report. And the board has absolute control. So in the discretionary funds that I manage, the board, it's a unanimous decision by the board to instruct the manager to do. then the manager acts under those policies and procedures set by the board. Now, we help the board in writing and drafting those, but like the other examples that I operate now, they're going, look, yeah, thanks, Tremaine, you've done the best you can, but we want to tweak that because we know that we've got an issue in our industry here. And we go, great. Okay, so that instruction flows right through the organisation to determine, product wording, pricing, reinsurance purchase, and then legal panel education and awareness around how to defend those potential actions. Yeah. So it sounds quite complex, but once we get the run of it, like my job is to make it easy and support the board in its direction for the betterment of its industry or its members.
Ultimately, it's a product that you guys own, and it shapes the way you guys need it to shape. You mentioned other property insurances and so forth. We've started looking only at liability. Now, all of a sudden, you may have one sector of the industry that's screaming about certain types of property risks, and that gets brought to our attention. We raise that with the board and say, I think we really should perhaps look at this. The board then gives that approval to say, yep, let's go for that. And so at the end, as long as we've got a good industry representation on that board, which is really what we're targeting to do, we're looking out for each other. That's what the fund's for.
Tom, you've unmuted yourself. Do you want to ask something?
Yeah, thanks, Laurie. I'm Don Courtney from Outdoors Queensland. It seems to me this sort of product is probably something that even to make it work effectively, it possibly needs to be Australia-wide. It possibly needs to have that sort of reach and scope. And I was sort of thinking about it from a point of view of Laurie and I are both board members of the Outdoor Council of Australia, as are our colleagues from other organisations interstate, including Scouts and Australian Camps Association and Christian Venues Association on the board of that. I'm just wondering if maybe that's an alternative option as an organisation that could possibly host this sort of thing, but also then how does it work to get down to members of members getting that insurance cover? Like, is that going to be a drama? Because the members of the Outdoor Council of Australia are really it's quite a small group of organisations, like the peak bodies from each state. But I'm not sure, this isn't my world, but I just wondered how that would actually work.
And you've hit the nail on the head of something why we have to talk to all of these different groups is, for one thing, to put this together, we actually need to get data on claims and that from all operators as much as possible. And the only way to do that is to go through each one of these, your associations, and reach the members. But this has been tried by a few different sectors in the leisure industry before, and it's failed because they didn't have the numbers. They stayed within their little sector group. We're going as broad as we can. Everyone we can find within outdoors, yes, but then leisure, recreation, and amusement. We're talking from outdoor tourism guys to paintball operators to speedboat hire. It all fits under that spectrum. If we can reach all those, the volume certainly will manage that concern. It's all about getting the size of the sector as much as we can, and certainly dealing with all those different associations is going to be necessary.
I was just about to ask, does that answer your question, Liz? And she said yes. I didn't even ask the question.
So just to follow up on that, so would you think you'd have like one rep from the outdoor sector on that board and one rep from the amusements area and one rep from the that sort of world?
That would be ideal. And look, there is one organisation that does arguably represent the whole of the Australian, those three sectors, and that would be Alara. But if I look at Alara closely, I still would criticise that they're still too amusement and park oriented if you look at their membership. And if I look at their board, it is too park oriented. And so if we were looking to get a body together, the ideal of Alara is great, but it needs to incorporate you guys. It needs to incorporate all the sectors if there's going to be one central body. And certainly we're not going to have it over-governed by one sector of the leisure industry. We need representation from everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, and Dom,
sorry, go on.
oh, sorry, Laurie. Yeah, Dom,
no.
but you did hit it on the head in that the board has member representation, which is the majority of the members on the board. And if we require those industry skills or that industry representation within this mutual, we'd look to do that. Obviously, though, and I'll just put a caveat, and this is as transparent as myself and Robert are in our proposals. We can't have 33 members on a board because we'll never get a decision, to be able to make it run. So, but you're right in that it needs multidisciplinary member representation. It also needs independent chair, which comes from usually the insurance industry to provide that guidance as a chairperson, and it's independent of anyone. I would sit on that board as the manager's representative, so that like an executive director on the board to answer the questions and take direction. But it's how you comprise the board is your decision. It's yours. It's the members' company, and then we have those discussions and select those appropriate people.
When I look at your body, the whole national body of Outdoors Australia, you guys encompass such a large section of the leisure recreation industry that really, as long as we can get some representation from your national voice, I think you guys are covering quite a lot of things. If we go through all the leisure activities, I had my partner the other day send me a list of what we consider leisure, and I ended up circling a good, I'd say at least 25% of them would all fit under your banner. So if we get representation from you guys, you certainly represent a large part of that industry.
Guys, I just wanted to ask, from your perspective, aside of the topic we're talking about now, what are the other risks associated with this? I mean, just so I think the sector are aware of the choices that they have if they support something like this.
I'll jump in. Obviously, as a company, the board of directors has its directors' duties and responsibilities, so it needs to be solvent at all times. And obviously, it relies upon a range of experts, my company, actuaries, accountants for the end-of-year reports and that sort of stuff. But any other risks associated with this, really, it's only a solvency risk for the entity, which is usually guaranteed with the reinsurance structures we put in place. So again, I don't want to be associated with anything that goes wrong because it impacts the license that I operate, which is my business. So that's really, really vitally important. Other than that, no, there's not really any risk associated to for the discretionary mutual fund itself, the only risks are, I don't know, a conflux of large claims within a weekend where we have, 15 multiple accidents across the state or the country where, we have, deaths or paraplegia or whatever occurs. Now that would be something that actuarially, that black swan event, we would look at. We wouldn't be able to reinsure, protect for things like COVID-19 because now it's a known event. The reinsurance industry is excluding it from everything, so that's just, we have to deal with it as best we can. But other than just the probability of claims impacting the fund, that's the only real risk that we have. If there's not enough support or critical mass for the fund, that's a risk we have. But like any venture, it's as good a proposition than the support that will be given. So if it works for the right reasons, people will come to it. Like the old Kevin Costner, build it and they will come. The Field of Dreams, I always use the analogy, and if it's not good enough, then people won't be there. So it will live and die by its own level of success and quality. But our job, Robert and mine, is to make sure with the support teams we've got to make sure that it is that gets that probability of success very high.
Great. And guys, in the interest of time, I know we're running close to the end and we've got a few more things we just need to run by everyone. But what's the best example of a mutual, which industry does it best? Robert asked that question.
Well, they all do it good. So Uni Mutual's very successful. Capricorn was very successful. I was the CEO there for 3 years and made it operate very, very well to its current performance. Then moved out to do my own business ventures. Who are the other successful ones? The Virgin Pilots one was good up until COVID-19 hit it. Now, I don't know what impact it's going to have for the loss of licenses for pilots. I assume that will be a critical event in its history. There are farm mutuals that have worked very well across Australia and New Zealand. The UK has a lot of mutuals, which is military. So it's groups of like-minded and like-hearted individuals that gather together. So you are like-minded and like-hearted group of individuals, and you gather together for the benefits that you all support the association and obviously your work, Laurie. That means we transfer it across to a discretionary mutual fund, and we pool insurance premiums to be owned by the members and have an outsourced insurance manager managing that pool of fund, and risk advisors like Robert, assisting in that process. So it's the best things work when the people believe it and follow it.
The first one that I found, I didn't know what this was. I was just asked by clients to find some sort of a self-funded insurance model, and so I just had to do the old Google for a few nights and try and work various things out. And the first active model I found is actually with a lot of the Australian councils. Apparently in the 1980s, they had a lot of troubles with general insurers offering insurance to them. And they've set up these models. There's different ones for different states, it seems, but they're all running at a profit. And also what it seemed to do is reduce the incidents and accidents around the councils, because their self-management improves because they're looking after their own insurance. So that I found that was a really good example. That they've got all those risks that we all think about, people are going to trip and fall and all the other things, and yet the model has worked.
Brilliant. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming. If anyone's got any other comments or questions, and I think you also wanted to reach out to the sector and just get an understanding of their own challenges. So perhaps if I can ask whoever's on the line and whoever's viewing this on the YouTube channel, if you have a scenario that you'd like feedback from the guys on, send it through to myself, and I will certainly get it to Tremaine and to Robert for that feedback. Amy's just asked what's sort of timeline of starting. I know Mark asked about the timeline for it to be self-generating, but what's the timeline to start the mutual?
Yeah, very good question. So there's a turnkey option that I've got. So once we've got claims data to be able to develop the actuarial modelling, so that's a work which is sort of like how long is a piece of string to get the right amount of data. But once we've got that to say, yes, we've got a start date, it's an 8-week process for me to do a turnkey model. And so, yes, it's now quite relatively quick and painless, but for the collection of claims data to prove actuarially how we can price risk and across the different segments. So if it's just one line of one segment, it's a lot easier. But if we're including a broader group, then it becomes more complex mathematically for us to do the work. But that's the real pinch point.
Great. Okay, so I'll just express everyone, if you've got questions, you've got scenarios you want to throw the guys, please send it through to myself or to Leslie, and we'll make sure the guys get it. But thank you so much for joining us today, and we look forward to the continuing conversation and see where this can go. So thank you again. Cherie, you're online. Would you like to just come forward and speak about Inside the Outhouse?
Yeah, everybody, my name is Cherie. I work with a outdoor community project called Inside the Outhouse. I've just put the links into the chat. If you guys haven't joined us before, please check it out. We operate on Mondays in the evenings, and we just talk about different issues that are facing the Australian outdoor community as a whole. So we try to incorporate from every state. So if you guys would like to join us this week, we're going to talk about some of the issues facing the industry, and then we're hoping to get an update from some of the governing bodies who are just hearing about this now, about what's happening in their states. So hopefully we'll get some of that. So please join us once again in the chat. You can get a link to our website and to our Facebook page. We're a grassroots community project, so we'd love to have you guys there.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Cherie. Thanks for jumping on too. And yeah, it's a great little network as far as the conversations are amazing. So if you get a chance, jump on that. Is it still at the bazaar time of 5:17?
Or 4:17.
Oh, 4:17 Queensland time.
No, 4:17. So I've put it in the chat because that's probably one of the most confusing things about it. So it's 417 for New South Wales, Victoria, and Tasmania, 317 for Queensland, and 117 for Western Australia.
I think that's the other way around.
Yeah, no, that's the way I've posted it is correct.
Is it right?
Yeah, that's right. We're not doing it, but we did one session at 517 and realized it caused a lot of confusion so we've moved it back to 417 to
right.
Some of those
I wasn't aware of the change. Okay,
yeah.
Got it.
Sorry, it is 417 in New South Wales, Victoria, and Tasmania.
Awesome. If that's the case, I can now attend and I'm not running a door to dancing. Okay, fabulous. No, that's awesome. Thanks so much, Sheree, and I'm glad you clarified that. And look at that, it's right on 11. How do we do this? Anyway, thank you everyone for attending today. Great conversation in relation to our options around insurance, and we'll continually update that. Happy World Teachers Day to all the wonderful teachers out there. You've had an amazing year, and all the best for all the Queensland entrants in tonight's awards. So hope it goes well, and good luck to all the finalists. So thank you all. I'll bid you farewell, and we'll see you all next week.